It's been a minute. Today's video was recorded Mexico. Can y'all hear that? This video was recorded back in February. Oh my gosh, it's getting louder. Like I was saying, this video was recorded back in February. It's from our trip to Mexico City, where I went to finish my course in getting my TEFL certificate, teaching English as a foreign language. I finally got it. It was a long journey, but yeah. So this video was taken then, and we didn't really record much of the actual trip we're exploring or anything. But we did go to Pocha House. What is Pocha House? Like, what are you talking about? Pocha House is a place that is dedicated for deportees and returnees, which started from ODA, which is Otros Dreams en Acción, which is the organization where I learned about the TEFL course that I was a part of. They shared it on their Facebook page, and I saw it, and you know, that's how I was able to take it. They partner up with the Fundación SM, which is the ones that give us the scholarships to be able to take the course. The video is basically just talking, sitting at a table, talking about what ODA is, what Pocha House is, what they are doing, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. Maggie is a wonderful person. Everyone that helps, works, volunteers for ODA, they're amazing people, and I just have this newfound passion for this organization that I hope you guys are able to see and get from the video. So enjoy.
So can I get in can I get in like 5 sentences? What do you guys do?
In 5 sentences?
5 sentences.
Or more.
Or more.
As she's talking, you can look, go around. I really like. Who wrote that?
Lalo, un compa que es poeta deportado.
I really like that. People get very touchy-feely when we talk about Obama because they're like, oh, he gave us DACA. Okay, yeah, but he also detained a whole bunch of people. Like, what you mean? Yeah. But I love that.
Yeah,
that was
allá
the first...
está otro. There's another fragment on the other side. But a lot of people in our community, but basically, well, my name's Maggie. I'm also a returnee. I grew up in Texas and Georgia, and I've been back in Mexico for 11 years now. I arrived to San Luis Potosí because that's where my family is from. So I thought I was the only one because I came back in 2008. Sort of navigated by myself the first 8 years, well, the first 5 years in San Luis Potosí, thinking I was the only one. Later, I started to realize that I wasn't the only one, actually through a book que se llama Los Otros Dreamers that was published in 2014. I was lucky enough to participate in that book, and after that, basically the community started to get together from different parts of Mexico, and that is what led to ODA. In 2015, we co-founded Otros Dreams en Acción, which is ODA, a grassroots organization by and for people that were born in Mexico, grew up in the U.S. or lived many years in the U.S., and we're now back to Mexico because of deportation, because of the deportation of a loved one, and the entire family chooses to come back or faces the decision to come back, or because we were forced to return, systemically forced, because many of us were undocumented in the U.S., and after just facing all the challenges of being undocumented and the implications of that, and specifically where you live, like I grew up in Georgia, so it was a very conservative southern state where there's not a lot of like support. So I call myself forcibly returned, because at the end it's not like I came to Teotihuacan to visit. I came back because I wanted to have a better life and be able to continue my life. So we call ourselves forced returnees. And basically we're in a space right now que se llama Pocha House. This is a place where we speak Spanglish. most of the time. It's a cultural, artistic place. If you look around, everything that you can find in the walls are actually something that the community just wanted to leave because people come and go all the time. People that were also deported or people that returned. Or posters or work, fragments of poems that some of the community also has done. You can see a few murals. We have a mural in the entrance. We have this mural, which those two costales are actually costales that people, when they get deported with those white costales that are easy to target, that they were in prison or in a detention center. So we asked two of the people that came to Pocha House to seek support and accompaniment if they wanted to give us their costales, and they gave them to us. And then the other two deportee compañeros made the art on them. So it's really important to also show and share what those costales represent, in the sense that it's also dehumanizing our community with those costales, and pues
Making
obviously
them a target.
making them a target, and obviously they're upside down because of the role of both countries that they have had in our community. The bow is because one of our community members passed away last year, just 3 months after being deported because of negligence from the Estado Mexicano and the U.S. So it's also as a way to protest about all of the inhumane and violations that our community goes through once they arrive to Mexico. There's a huge diversity of our community. Obviously, there's some that we come with more resources than others. Some of them are going through family separation. Some of them are older and it's more complicated to have access to stuff here in Mexico. Some of them are young kids or kids even. What does it mean to be a kid and return not speaking any Spanish and going into the school system and getting bullied? So this is a space where everybody fits in terms of what their experience has been, and we don't generalize, and we don't also romanticize the idea of coming to Mexico. It's basically a space where people can come together. We can mutually support each other, and we are expanding in different states where people are also active desde donde están, desde sus comunidades, and we're still demanding for family reunification and mobility and the idea to be de aquí de allá. Y Memo es coordinador de vocería o formación de vocería, which he does a lot.
Vocería son los miembros de la organización, pero nosotros no hablamos de miembros porque queremos más que eso que se llama vocería, que es como lo de tu voz, que se alce en todos lados, ¿no? Porque tenemos gente o compañeros que viven en Chiapas, viven en Guerrero, en Oaxaca, ustedes en San Luis, ¿no? Y entonces nos preguntaban cómo podían ser parte de la organización. Y entonces era difícil como para ellos venirse a la Ciudad de México a una asamblea que teníamos en aquellos entonces 2 veces al mes, ahora es 1 vez al mes, pero aún así es difícil que se trasladaran acá. Entonces lo que nosotros decimos es de que desde tu estado, desde tu comunidad, tu colonia, empieces a alzar tu voz y empieces a hablar de lo que está sucediendo con la comunidad deportada retornada. Y entonces nosotros hablamos de vocería en vez de miembros de la organización, porque queremos escuchar tu voz desde donde estés, ¿no? Y lo que tiene que ver con formación tiene que ver un poco con esto de la cuestión de política ideológica, ¿no? Que entendemos que muchos de los compañeros a veces es difícil tener una ideología política cuando estás viviendo en Estados Unidos por tanto tiempo y llegas a un país que, aunque sea tu país de origen, donde tú naciste, no es la misma, no es el mismo sistema, todo es completamente diferente, y entonces es ese choque cultural que tienes, ¿no? Y entonces necesitamos formar a los compañeros en una cuestión más política, porque queremos cambiar las políticas públicas de México en cuestión de migración, porque las que están nos sirven, ¿no? Sí. Entonces necesitamos cambiar eso, pero ¿cómo lo cambiamos? Pues necesitamos que los compas tengan una ideología más profunda en cuestión de tu propia historia, porque esto es a partir de tu historia, no es a partir de la cuestión de educación, de te vamos a educar para que entiendas cómo funciona esto, no, es a partir de tu historia, de lo que ha sucedido contigo. ¿Por qué tus padres emigraron a Estados Unidos? ¿No? ¿Por qué si estás en Estados Unidos no, aún así las cosas no cambian en México? O sea, si hay todo ese potencial, ¿por qué no está sucediendo algo? Entonces por ahí es por donde nosotros queremos cambiar un poco el chip de la vocería para que entendamos que sí se puede desde acá, pero se tiene que iniciar desde abajo, desde una profunda pensamiento y lógicamente conociendo tu propia historia, ¿no? Y a partir de ahí podemos generar un buen de cosas que podemos hacer para cambiar. Mientras no tengamos eso, creo que va a ser difícil, pero teniendo los materiales, teniendo la vocación para hacer eso, los compañeros pueden cambiar muchas cosas y no necesitamos realmente de alguien que esté en el poder o en el gobierno para que haga estos cambios en las políticas públicas, ¿no? Y es por eso que ahí es donde entro yo como coordinador de la vocería para poder hacer todo este trabajo que tiene que ver con lo de educación popular. No sé si estés familiarizado con eso, pero tiene que ver con todo esto de educación popular, ¿no?
Sí,
que es precisamente esto, tu historia importa y tu historia es la que nos va a poder hacer que generemos muchas cosas en este espacio.
I guess que es casi lo que estábamos hablando hace rato con los documentos de educación, que aquí en México pues sí, se supone que ya no necesitamos que estén apostillados esos documentos de allá, pero aún así, bueno, al menos en San Luis es lo que le estábamos comentando, no sé si escuchaste, pero le estábamos comentando que en San Luis ahorita todavía están pidiéndonos eso, no solo para trabajar, sino para volver a estudiar. Como me llamaron de una universidad, hey, we heard you're an English teacher, you have your bachelor's degree, do you want to work here? Yes, but it's from the US. Si no está apostillada, pues no podemos. Y ahorita ya voy para un año, porque sí, afortunadamente nosotros tenemos a alguien que nos ayude y que lo está haciendo allá, pero sabemos que hay muchas personas que no, nada más no tienen a nadie, se regresan y no, pues ¿cómo lo hacen si no están ahí, si no hay nadie que les ayude allá?
¿Y a dónde fuiste? ¿A la CEP? That was in CEP, or where to start the revalidation process?
No, they're doing it from the States.
Ah, okay.
Sí,
no, pero
desde
aquí, I mean, they do pero the apostilla is for educación. But what place called you saying that they wanted to hire you?
A university.
But
the
what?
Autónoma de San Luis.
So they have their own process and they're still having apostilla. Okay. Because con CEP, we were part of the change so that ya no pidan apostilla ni pidan traducción por perito. But it doesn't apply for the autónomas because they have their own revalidation process. But if you come back and you want to go, that's why you should first identify what school you want to go and study or what school you want to go and work. Porque ahora desde que participamos en muchas organizaciones, in 2017 we were able to make a change para que ya no pidan apostille, ni traducción up to high school, ni licenciatura. And now you can translate your own documents by yourself. But it was a lucha que duró muchos años. And like in my case, yo llegué a San Luis and it took me 5 years to revalidate porque me pedían una apostille and they didn't explain to me back in 2008 what that was. They just told me, you just need to go back to the US and get it because they only give it to you. Y eso fue lo que me dijeron. And obviously, hasta que no conocí another returnee from Georgia, he told me like, look, email your schools, get the transcripts, tell your brother to go pick them up, and then your brother can go apostillarlo, and then he can ship them to you, and then you need to pay para que te los traduzcan, and then you can go and then do the process with CEP. But then I was like, oh, I want to go to the Autónoma, and they told me, oh, you did all that, but ahora Autónoma has its own process, so you have to do it again with us, and it's different. And eso es algo que...
Which is because I was working en un colegio, and they accepted it.
Privado?
Privado.
No.
They accepted it. They didn't have to. So that was fine. But now from there, they're like, no, you need that. So.
Es privado, yeah.
Which right now, I mean, I'm not even working anywhere. I just give private lessons now. I said, forget y'all, too much work. So now I'm just giving private lessons, which is fine. Aquí me mantienen.
La idea de este mapa es que la gente que llega a este espacio ponga los lugares donde ha estado en Estados Unidos o donde ha vivido y cómo ha sido el proceso, ¿no? Por ejemplo, yo, ¿no? Estuve aquí, llegué a Jacksonville, pero de Jacksonville me mudé a Boulder, Colorado, y después me mudé a Boston, y de Boston me fui a Chicago, y en Chicago me deportaron a México, ¿no?
Wow.
Entonces es como un poco tener el reconocimiento de dónde la mayoría de los compañeros han estado y dónde llegan, que sí vemos que todos llegan a la Ciudad de México, pero también hay varios compañeros que llegan a otros a otros estados, ¿no? Entonces esta es la idea de tener este mapa aquí presente para que sepan qué es lo que está pasando.
Va. Bueno, yo viví 10 años en el condado de San Diego, pero específicamente en Escondido, California. Luego me fui para Charlotte, bueno, ni Charlotte, para Kannapolis, que está como a 40
¿Cómo
minutos.
se llama?
Kannapolis,
Ok.
que está como a 40 minutos de Charlotte. Y ahí viví los 11 años. Luego ya me regresé aquí a San Luis.
¿Cuál es la capital?
Mándeme, mamá.
Pone en la capital.
En la capital de San Luis,
Sí.
¿es aquí?
Sí.
No, sí, ¿verdad?
Sí, ahí es la capital. No, ese es Nuevo Laredo, ¿no?
No, aquí era.
San Luis, sí,
Oh,
aquí,
aquí
es
está.
Potosí.
Que es donde estamos ahorita. Las tijeras. Para que mi mamá le diga más.
Aquí.
Allá, pues ahí.
¿Naciste en Oaxaca?
En Oaxaca.
En San Luis. Ah, no.
Él nació en Oaxaca.
Oaxaca.
Oaxaca forever. Oaxaca forever.
De
And now
Charlotte.
I'm in San Luis Potosí. I just put on yours, okay?
Pues sí.
Pues sí.
Here.
Uy. Perfect. I love it. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said in the intro, I have this newfound passion for this organization, and I hope you guys did too. I'm gonna link their Facebook and Instagram and Twitter down in the description. You can follow them, like their page, look at all their posts. Currently, we are working with a campaign for face mask campaign. The funds are basically to help the community. But you can learn more about it in their Facebook page. I encourage you guys to look them up, see what they're about, look at their Facebook page, look at the face mask campaign, and honestly, just if you are planning to come back to Mexico, ODA is one of the most amazing organizations that helps people, and you can get a lot of information. Even after being here for almost 2 years, once I got to know ODA and who they are and what they do, like they have helped me now be more aware of what's going on in Mexico and how things work, like taxes. They provided a workshop about taxes here in Mexico last month, and it was amazing. Like it opened my eyes to so many things that I didn't even know after almost 2 years of being here. So they are a great resource. I mean, there's lots of organizations here, but like always, do your research, see what organization fits your needs the most. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully I'll be able to upload a video soon with maybe a special guest that doesn't really like to be recorded. But yeah, until next time, bye.